Hello, everybody. Welcome to our session on design thinking. We are very excited to have you here today. This session is going to be jam-packed, so I'm going to go straight into the introductions. First of all, my name is Marla Henriquez. I'm based in Bogota, and I do bits and bobs for Impact Hub Network. And the most important person that I'm about to introduce is Juan Claudio, who is from Impact Hub Caracas. You'll be pleased to know we're in very experienced hands here with Juan Claudio, who is a specialist in business innovation and is going to take us through an intense but very practical design thinking training. So I hope everyone here is ready to learn to apply this powerful innovation methodology to helping creativity flourish, how we can tackle complex challenges and generate impactful solutions for your projects and initiatives. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand over to Juan Claudio and say, please make sure that you use the chat functions as well as the Q&A, and then we can keep an eye on that as we go through the session. Juan Claudio, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and hello to everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here on behalf of Claudia. I'm sorry she could not be here, but I'm very happy to fill in and give you this fantastic talk that we have planned for you. So I go by Juan Claudio, JCP, Claudio. Thank you very much, Amala, for pronouncing my name fully. So I'm going to ask you to please, if you can share my slides, and I want to take you first through the itinerary so I can explain. Well, as you know, I'm going to be talking about design thinking and unlocking innovation through creative problem solving. I like putting those glasses there because it's like solving problems through the design glasses. They're not probably very design driven, but they go on with my look very well. So let me, Mala, please put the itinerary. So I have planned a little trip for everybody. It's going to take like an hour. I promise I'm going to take you to our destination in an hour. I hope it's not too turbulent. It's, like Mala said, intense, because I am passionate about this subject, and you know how it is. It's always very difficult to decide, to shorten your presentation. So if I go a little fast, just tell me, hey, JC, slow down and things like that. The itinerary basically is I'm going to, share some definitions, something called perspectives on this, what is really design thinking, and some process framework. It's just some theory to put context. And then I'm going to explain what's called the Stanford D-School design thinking process and some tools. And I'm going to take you through five phases of this process, which go from empathize to prototype and test, and which is really the design, the method that Stanford teaches. I am certified by a school called Think in another method that is kind of cousin to the school design thinking process. So at the end, I'm just going to share like a design thinking cheat sheet. So you take with you, just like a quick guide when you want to apply it. So I have prepared also some examples and some warm-ups that I hope you can participate so this doesn't become a monologue, okay? So Mala, please, if you can give me the next slide. Just I want you to look at this concept. This, I think, is really a problem solving methods that is usually used, that uses creativity, collaboration, and empathy to develop innovative solutions. So think of this as a process that you use to innovate, okay? It's one of the main characteristics of this process is that it's a human-centered approach. So when we're designing products, when we're designing solutions, businesses, we're always having the human, the person in front of you, the user. So it's very, very based on the needs and the behaviors of the user. So when we're designing for him. The picture you see there is from one of the founders of this methodology from IDEO, called Tim Brown. So a lot of times when you hear about design thinking, you hear about IDEO, although there are many other schools that I'm going to refer to, okay? The next slide, Mala, please, if you can. I just want to use, they're like two very well-known design thinking lens or perspective. The first one, I like to call it the old approach because it's the original IDEO approach. Is when you're designing an innovation and look at that sweet spot in the middle. IDEO is always telling you, take in consideration the needs of the people, right? Taking into consideration if the technology can support the solution you are trying to do, and taking consideration if it's viable as a business. So IDEO has always been very focused on solutions that can be done or supported by tools and that have a business sustainable purpose. There is a new approach from a new school, from a new source, that is called the Innovation Board, the Board of Innovation. They put together a lot of stuff, and they have added a new lens to it. They say, well, it's not only to satisfy the needs or desirability of the solution of the people. You design for people. You want it to be viable economically. You want it to be feasible, technological, but it's very important for the innovation you're designing to have integrity, to have impact. And as you being impact hovers, you know that it's not only about making money, it's also about, you know, helping society, not causing problems. So this is something very interesting, because when we are analyzing innovations, we like to think of also always looking at those four lenses and making sure that when you put together an innovation, you take in consideration impact and integrity. So it's a less business driven, it's a more integral approach. So you know, we could give a class completely in this 4-month process length, but we'll leave it up to here. Okay. So give me the next slide. There are many design thinking processes. As I mentioned, there is the Stanford School, which is the first one. And I know the letters are a little small here, but you can see there is the Stanford, there is the IDEO, there's the Design Council, there's this Design Sprint, there is the Think, which is the one that I'm an expert, and there is others, you know. But if you can see to the right, most of them, what they tell you is if you follow a process that usually goes from empathize or sensing all the way to prototyping, you can innovate, you know, and make innovation. So I just want you with this slide to keep in mind that what I'm going to teach you right now or today is the first one, the one that has that dot there. And I'm also incorporating some tools from Think Innovation Flow. So I'm going to be referring, and we're going to spend the whole the whole trip talking about the process of design by the Stanford School, and I'm going to bring some tools from Think. Okay, so enough of this now. So let's go to the next one, Mala, if you can. Hello, am I? Okay, great. So this is the Stanford method, okay? Stanford method tells you that there are 5 stages, 5 phases that Stanford, goes about. It's about first, when you're going to design an innovation, a solution, something, you first have to empathize, okay? Then you have to define, ideate, prototype, and test. So now I'm going to take you through each one of them. For each one of these phases, okay, of these phases, or sub-processes, there is, please, the next slide, there is what we call design thinking tools, okay? So even the Stanford method has a design thinking bootleg where you can find over 57 tools that you can use for these different stages, from empathize to test to prototype and everything. So there are tools that help you do these things. I like to use also the toolkit from Think that has also over 50 tools. Most of the tools, when you look at them, you see everybody kind of plays around with them and adds something different to it, okay? So most of the tools that I'm going to refer today are either borrowed from the bootleg from Stanford or some from Think, School of Creative Leadership. Okay, let's move to the next one. Most of the tools usually help you divergent thinking. Sometimes when you are going to innovate, one of the things you want to do is make sure you diverge. You broaden your perspective. So to see if you can see a lot of generate multiple answers to a set of questions. And there are some tools that are used to convergent thinking, that involves aiming for a single correct solution to a problem. So some of the tools I want to mention, or some of the phases, are either very focused on divergent or making you or your team converge. Let's go to the next one. So this is enough of it. Now let me go into one of each stages. Okay, the first stage is what we call the empathize stage. And when you're faced with a problem, or when you're faced with a challenge, one of the things that Stanford design method tells you is you need to empathize. The first thing is you really need to understand what is what's happening, understand your user. The problems you're trying to solve are rarely your own. So it's very important that you really put yourself in the shoes of your user and you understand what are his values and everything. Give me the next slide. So this empathize stage, what we do, please, Mala, if you're so kind, or what we do is, this is how we apply it. So it's very important when you're empathizing, it's very important that you observe your users, that you play like you're an anthropologist. You observe, you interact with the environment, you capture quotes, behaviors, you look at your users and you observe him, you engage with your users directly, you interact with them, and you immerse yourself. In the Think method, we like to use this sensing part, this emphasized place as sensing, Think about you really transforming yourself and being with that user, understanding what the user is looking at, okay? So this is how to emphasize. You observe, you engage, and you immerse with him. The next slide will tell you some tools that we like to use, and these are tools that when you're starting a project, a design thinking project, and you are in that stage of empathizing, one of the tools that we like to use are either, you have to collect a lot of facts and figures about the problem or the user and the situation and the context. So one of the things that we always encourage is collect a lot of data and a lot of, try to really dispel the myth, discover surprises, opportunity, try to do a research on everything that's going on. Another thing that we like to do when we're empathizing is scanning the landscape. Go and look for all the inspirations and solutions that are there in the market, and we call that scanning the landscape. Another tool that we use is called Wild Safari. we like to, do what you do when you go to a safari for the first time. You conduct a first-hand user observation in their own habitat. You go and see and live with them, and and those three are more to create
Hi everyone, it looks like there has been a little internet issue.
Are you listening to me? I'm
Yes.
sorry, Ma, I
You
was
are.
caught for a second.
You are caught, but you are back. We
Hello?
can't see you at the moment, but we can hear you clearly.
Okay,
There we go.
I guess I see. If you're there, please give me a thumbs up. Are you listening to me
Yeah.
or not? Oh, great, fantastic. Okay.
We can hear you again.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to, and there are some tools that we're going to practice today that have to do with how you conduct like user interview, how you do empathy maps, user portrait, or customer journey. So I'm going to do some exercises and warm-ups about those particular tools, because the first is, imagine in that empathize phase, you looked at the problem with the statistics, you interview experts and everything, but now you want to go and interview your user and live in the life of your user. So I'm going to give you two tools that I want you to look at. I'm going to talk about empathy maps, user portrait, and customer journey. Please give me the next one, Mala. Okay, this is very important. I forgot I had this. One of the things that you're trying to do when you are empathizing, if you want to find really what are the needs of your user, it's very key when you are trying to solve a problem, when you're trying to create an innovation, it's very important that you understand the needs. And one of the things that we want to make sure always is that you don't focus on just the solution, because the reality is when you're doing a design thinking process, usually you go with a solution in mind, So we want to keep you away from a solution. We want you to concentrate on needs. Try to find, when you're empathizing with your user, try to find needs, things that he is having problems with, or things or requirements he has. Another thing that you're trying to find when you're doing an empathy, and you're going through the empathy process, is you're trying to find insights. Insights are the emotional reasons behind what you look. When you see something and you observe something, you want to make sure, well, why? Why is he acting the way he's acting? Okay, so remember that in the empathize phase, in that sensing phase, that initially, you don't want to be looking and trying to push your solution. You just want to understand needs and insights. Those insights are usually, hypotheses you have. Oh, maybe he's doing that because of this. So always try to find needs and insights. Let's go to the next one. Okay, I'm going to, I noticed, by the way, that in the list there were some people from Brazil. So I just picked a example from Brazil that I want you to look at. It's called Where There Is Love, There Is Beauty. It's from a company called O Boticário. I'm sure some of our Sao Paulo and Brazilian friends there are aware of it. So I want you, for a moment, I want you to play, because I cannot make you go to a wild safari user interview, but I want to think, I want to show you a video that I'm going to ask Mala to play, and I want you to keep in mind about the user. Try to empathize with him and try to think about needs and insights. So please, Mala, if you're so kind, 1 minute video from O Boticário, and please, if you can, put a translation, although we have some Portuguese speakers here. Go ahead.
Quando ela começou a pedir, aos 80 anos eu entrei em um curso de maquiagem. Não foi fácil, não para mim. Meus colegas tinham mais facilidade. Bom, eles tinham mais talento, mais vocação. Eu Eu só tenho o motivo mais importante do mundo: o meu amor. Quando ela começou a perder a visão, eu prometi que ela jamais perderia a vaidade.
Você tá linda.
O Boticário. Onde tem amor, tem beleza.
Beautiful, no? Did you like it? Thumbs up there. It's big. Yeah, it's so think for a moment. Let's say we are, we don't have the opportunity to be there, but please, if you can give me the next slide after by the way, this is very powerful. Claudia and I are doing a project on silver economy. So we're trying to gather a lot of beautiful examples of silver economy or longevity economy. So, but for a moment, let's see, this is the user portrait. So think about for a moment about the two protagonists in this, there is Joao and his wife. So think about what you think are Joao's motivations. What are the pains and fears? What is he going through with his wife? By the way, it's a true story that O Boticário says. So okay, well, thank you, Annie, for being here. But I want you to, for a moment, to think about, the pain and feels. Imagine you're having, your wife or your loved one going through that and what he's doing. So when you're doing a user portrait, try to really think of what influences them, what are the motivations, what are the pain and fears. The other tool that you're using when you are empathizing, please, Mala, if you're so kind, is what we call an empathy map. So also, think for a moment, what do you think Joao will say, or what do you think he's doing? What do you think he thinks, or what do you think he feels? Notice that the things that you observe are the things that you hear, okay? And the things that he thinks and you feel are the things that you infer. Again, keep in mind that what you need is, by looking at this, is trying to find needs and insights, because you're empathizing, you're sensing, you want to understand and really look at a problem. Well, the next slide just shows you very quickly some of the the next one. Here is, Mala, you had it. Okay, it's you please put the empathy map in the. Yeah. Oh, okay. This is just think of him. This is Joao. He's a very empathetic, patient, detailed. So he's really, his motivation is his wife is losing her vision. He wants to keep her happy and things like that. So imagine when you look at that, or think about Boticário, when they found this, they put a portrait about the users here. And on the other side, give me the next slide, which is they also, you will also be required to put an empathy map. And remember, also, what are the needs of these people? What are the insights? What is it that you are finding out about that? So I'm not going to go into every detail. I just want you, for when you take these slides home, you have a look again at the picture, at the video, and try to think, what are the needs and insights? Because what you're trying to do at the very beginning is empathize, understand that problem, understand and live the life as if you were Joao and his wife. Okay, so this is one of the first warm-ups that I wanted to show you about two tools that we use for this. Mala, please, if you can move to the next one. Okay. Just always remember, empathy is not just about walking in someone else's shoes, but you have to take off your shoes first. So when you're doing empathetic design, when you're trying to do your sensing exercise, try to postpone judgment, try to really put yourself into this. The other thing is, when you're doing empathetic interviews, if you're so kind, Mala, for the next slide, when you're doing empathetic interview, also when you're interviewing your users, make sure that you always, introduce the project, build rapport, evoke stories, make sure that you really, I mean, when you're interviewing that person, when you're doing that well safari, not just go with a survey and start asking, just really, really empathize with the person and make sure he tells you stories so you can collect and find all these needs and insights. Okay, so let's move to the next one. So I have time to warm up, and I was recently in Europe, and I had to go to IKEA to buy something. So I'm going to, I want to explain another tool that we use a lot, and you're probably familiar with this, which is called a customer journey. I'm sure most of you have purchased in IKEA. What are the things that you probably hate about going to IKEA, if anything? If anybody can just, share theirs. What are 2 things that you probably hate when you go to share? And there are also fantastic things you love when you go to IKEA. Anybody there? The furniture, eating, yeah, it takes all of, yeah, fantastic. So imagine if you are trying to really look at your experience at going to IKEA. If you can give me the next one, Mala, please. What you do is you create what we call, a experience map, when you start really putting all the touch points, and as you see, you probably can see the things that the touch points, and you put here an experience rating, where you see, well, like you say, people love the food. I love to buy that €1 ice cream or €1 hot dog. I probably sometimes like the furniture, but I probably hate the round tour, no? With all of those stuff, yeah. Or I probably hate the checkout, going to the checkout and it takes too long. If you're, so this is what we call a customer journey. You put the touch points and you try to understand really where are those areas where there are opportunities to really find out what are things that you can change, needs, insights that you're having. If you can put the next slide. Yes, yeah, thank you. These are the 2 things that that everybody hates a lot. And one is the IKEA round tour, that thing that they make you go through everything. I was in Amsterdam, I went to buy some lamps for my daughter, and I was, holy cow, I spent almost half a day going through the whole tour, and I only wanted lamps. So, that's an experience, that's an insight that if you were interviewing me to empathize, you're trying to find, well, what could I do to really go around the round tour? Or Death by IKEA, when you buy this stuff and then you have to install it, you probably all remember that. So think about another tool when you're empathizing about your customer journey. Sometimes you are not design, you are working with an already solution, and you want to, or with a product or a service that you want to change. So the customer journey can give you needs and insights about how to improve or how to innovate on your current solution in the current needs. Okay, so also be aware, Mala, if you can give me the next slide. Also be aware of the sure your customer shortcuts, because one thing is when you design your process, you're probably familiar with this, right? When you design your process to be in one way, and the reality people take another route and do other things that you didn't intend it as a designer, So how people are using your products, let's say. So this first stage, it's called the empathize stage or the sensing stage, okay? And basically it's a stage where you go and you try to understand really what's happening, what's the user. Are we okay until here? Is this, are we following it, the design thinking process? We're talking about, the phases. Great, thank you very much for the feedback there. Okay, the next stage from the design, Mala, if you can please pass the next, okay, it's called the define stage. Not everybody has to define it. Stanford has the empathize, you start understanding, and then you start really defining what's the problem. Okay, so this is very common in the methodology coined the point of view. you really want to find an actionable problem. You want to find from all this empathize stage, you want to find what's the problem that the user is having, so you can really innovate or support him with a solution. Okay, so in this stage is define the problem, trying to define a point of view. Please, Mala, the next one. The way we use it, you know, usually is we try to explicitly state a problem, and that problem we're going to coin point of view. Let me go in the next stage, and we'll go on explain it a little more, and we do a warm-up exercise as well. Please, because you're taking these slides with this, just keep in mind the following, because I love this. A problem well stated is half solved. So it's very important in the stage, the empathize stage, and the define stages are probably the areas that you want to spend most of the time, because if you really understand the problem, then you really build a solution for that problem. One of the things is, the worst thing is you're designing a product, a service, a business for a problem that is not the one that your user is having. So always keep that in mind, you know, make sure that you are really defining well your problem. The next one, no? Mala, please. Okay, there are two tools here that stand for, you know, looks at it very well. When you want to define, they tell you first, use this thing called point of view, which is building a viable and meaningful problem statement that will serve as a guide to better focus on a particular user. So the very the thing you want to do is give me your point of view or your statement of an actionable problem. The other tool that is usually called the creative question. What we want to do is, with that problem, we want to build a question that it's, you know, that you want to use then to generate a lot of ideas. I'm going to give you more explanation as we move forward. Please, Mala, if you're so kind. Okay, this is this is a formula that we usually use to set up the point of view of the problem statement. Always put the user, the need, and the insight. That's why when you're doing your empathy stage, we're always asking, bring needs, bring insights, because we want to really make sure that you are able to craft a problem. And the formula for a creative question, which is the next one, Mala, if you're so kind. Okay, if you also, we're going to use always a question called how might we, where we put also a verb, you know, how might we help this user with this need, you know, with the insight user. Let's do some warm up to practice. Again, all I want you to take with this thing is there is always a problem and a creative question. Go ahead, Mala, please. Okay. So here is an example. You always want to have a point of view, and you want to have enough how might we questions. Okay. So this is an example of how to write a how might we question, redefining the airport waiting. A frenzied mother of 3 rushing a gate to find out a flight is delayed, and then you want to write some how might we questions for that. I'm going to use the warm-up exercise really to go into more details. Please go the next, because you'll probably have the everything. If I show you these pictures, what do you think is the actionable problem statement behind those images? What is it like if I were doing empathetic interviews and looking at that, and I look at kids in the hospital and things like that? Please share with me what you think will be an actual problem statement behind when you see those pictures. Anybody? Yeah. Kids' fear of doctors. Yeah. Anybody else? We make injections less scary. Beautiful. Well, we got people here that are already gay. Kids in frames of protection. Yeah, beautiful. So think about this. So let's please, Mala, let's go to what would be then the point of view. You know, children going to the hospital for medical procedures, that's the user, you know, the kids, you know, need comforting and playful experience. They need something, right? Because hospital environments often create overwhelming fear and anxiety that makes treatments difficult, okay? So the reality, this is how we could craft a point of view, okay? With this point of view, let's move to the next example. With this point of view, we could then, go ahead, Mala, please, if you're so kind. Yeah. Just think of this, how then the question, the creative question somebody put, how can we, kids are afraid of injection, but how may we transform children's fear of injections into a fun experience? So this is an example of Hermes Pardini laboratories in Brazil. Again, another example of Brazil. Thumbs up for Brazil, you know, how they changed the VR vaccine transformation. So think about that. I empathize with the problem. I try to build a solution. Please, Mala, let's share the Hermes Pardini video so you see a little bit of the problem. If you can translate it, appreciate it.
This is VR Vaccine. The VR vaccine is an immersive adventure where the children become a hero about to receive a powerful shield. To make it work, we need one VR gear, one smartphone for the children, one for the nurse, and the VR vaccine app.
Oi! Você voltou! Você voltou!
And what the children experience in the virtual world is matched step by step by the nurse that follows the story on a second screen.
Pronto. Agora o fruto de fogo. Mas ó, vamos lá. Bem rapidinho. Peraí.
All simultaneously calming and entertaining children while helping the nurses to better perform the vaccination.
Funciona, funciona, funciona! Obrigada, obrigada!
Caramba, filho, o que você acha disso?
Legal.
E na hora da vacina, ela faz uma relação ao calor. Nessa hora ela sente a picada. A picada é dentro de um contexto.
Cada vez mais a realidade virtual se torna uma grande aliada da medicina.
Okay, well, thank you, Mala. Great, yeah. Brazilians are like super innovative, and yeah, I remember. My kids are all grown up, but I mean, imagine you were doing the empathetic interview. How guilty we feel as parents when we take our children to do, despite the fact that we know we're doing good for them. But again, you see the power of a How Might We story. Of course, this example, you've probably seen it in many other places. Mala, if you can give me the next one, please, because there is a case that always everybody refers to. Mala, if you can then move to the yeah, which is also the GE Health MRI room, how GE also changed experience in the adventure series. Also, think about the how might we question, how do we make the children feel confidence with entering in the MRI room, and how they change the MRI room into an adventure series park. So the reality is, if you're trying to solve a problem, which is that point of view, that problem that we stated then how might we question may spark a lot of ideas on how to go about it, no? So we need the thing for adults. Yeah, I agree completely. No, because I'm also afraid of injections today. And going to an MRI, I'm not sure if the adventure series will do it for me. But are you getting it there? Okay, so are we okay up to here? You know, you empathize, you sense, you find out that, you know, everything that is going on, you try to, and then you craft a point of view, a problem statement, and then you go out and put a creative question. And that creative question takes you to the ideate stage, then to start really producing solutions. There are some tips, I'm not gonna go, but always when you are crafting a creative question, make sure that you don't do it too concrete. Look at that, how might we create a conduit, eyes cream without dripping. That's like too concrete or not too abstract. Like how might we redesign the dessert? You know, it's too big, too ambiguous. You just have to want to get it like right. How might we redesign an ice cream to make it more portable? You see the difference between three? So really, there is an art about creating creative questions, okay? And I'm gonna leave you with this tip and the next tip as well, if you can, Mala, share it. This is a little bit, okay, but also there are techniques about the level of abstraction. Don't include the solutions, that's key. Don't put the solution in the creative question because, as you say, you're always tempted to really put the solution into it. Look at this one. How can we write in space? How can we make a pen work in zero gravity? Instead, how can my children get a better education at lower cost? So really, there is an art about writing creative questions. So I'll leave you with these tips, which are very useful when we do design thinking projects. Again, Mala, the next one. Okay, so are we okay up to here? You know, we empathize, we define a problem, then we go to ideate. Now is the new, ideate is the mode in which you generate radical design alternatives. Ideation is the process of going wide in terms of concept and outcome. So now that you have a creative question, now you can, explore a wide solution space. So this is an area where you also diverge, okay? You first diverge at looking when you're empathizing, tools that help you broaden your perspective. You define, you converge, and now you also widen, okay? How to ideate, the next slide, if you're so kind. We ideate by you identify, in order to transition from identifying the problem to exploring the solution for your user, ideation is leveraged to. So basically what I want is to, harness the collective perspective. Here is, I don't want just you to work on this. Work with your team. Put that creative question and start, getting everybody to look at obvious solutions, uncover unexpected areas of exploration, and create fluency. One of the key elements is, in this stage of ideation, postpone judgment. Just start, bringing crazy ideas, a lot of them, variety of ideas. So when you are ideating, with that creative question, just start, populating your brainstorming sessions with ideas. No, don't judge and don't try to evaluate. Next slide. Let's see if I think I put some warm-up exercises here, but no, it's okay. These are the tools. Look at that. Okay, no, go back. Okay, there are many tools. I'm not going to go in detail, but they are reframing. I love feeling like an artist. Honestly, one of the things that I do is I copy ideas I love and I remix and transform them. I also use something called new combination or exercising. What would your mother do about that? About that problem, about that creative person, or how would Google solve it? How will Brazilians solve it? Or how would Coca-Cola solve it? And of course, the famous user value. So there are many tools that you can use to really ideate. Let me share with you just how it works with a creative question in the same way that we did before. Okay, go ahead, Mala. We're almost approaching landing. Okay, so again, start your brainstorming session with the creative question. That's very powerful. Make sure that you craft that and generate as many ideas and postpone judgment. As I said, well, of course, everybody uses today Post-it and start putting your ideas. But as I say, I love feeling like an artist. So one of the things that I do is I scan the landscape and I look at a lot of innovations that are already solving that problem that are not necessarily in your same industry. Think of this is very subtle, but very important. Your user has a customer, it has an expectations that probably is being solved by somebody else in another industry. Okay, so we don't compete necessarily with people from the same industry. We compete against their expectations, solutions that are already satisfying them, and they say, "Oh, why is Uber able to do that, but Impact Hub is not?" So they start comparing your expectations. So let me show you the next slide. So let's see. Okay. this is, you remember the oboticario, right? So imagine when you're doing this, you say, well, an elderly person with a visual impairment needs accessible personal care products that support their independence because they wish to uphold their dignity and self-esteem, feeling capable of managing their own care without relying exclusively on others. This is the point of view that we found. God, I mean, if my lovely wife is having that, how would she feel? How could I really support her? And these are how my questions. Please excuse they're very small, but how may we create products that allow people with sensory disabilities such as blindness to participate in personal care activities independently? Or how may we design sensory experience that enhance self-esteem, reinforce sense of dignity on elderly people? So imagine I'm trying to, I'm working this challenge. I have a point of view and I start putting, how might we question? What we usually do, and please, Amala, get me to the next slide, is we look at inspired innovations, and this is something that we do a lot for our clients in Impact Hub Caracas. Once we craft a powerful how one might we, and we have a powerful point of view, we start using trend insights and go and see innovations that are really solving that problem. As you can see here, Oboticario has what we call inclusive accessory initiatives. Beauty as an inclusive experience, but not Oboticario only. You can see that, everybody is going after the same opportunity because if everybody noticed that the trend is there, that users are all having that problems and that users want to solve that problem with innovative solutions. So L'Occitane is also putting a Braille packaging system, or Steel Lauder voice-enabled makeup assistant, or hair and care workshops for the visual impaired. Just look at, once you identify the problem, you could have come up with all these solutions, probably by brainstorming. But if you want to scan the landscape, you would have looked for the actual expectation and how others are solving. That's why I love stealing like an artist. I see what your industry is doing and what others are doing. Never forget this. If the idea is very good, and if the need is there, everybody's looking for it, and there is already people solving it. Give me the next slide, because I don't know if okay, no, wait. I just want to say something. I love to say always, is the future is here, but it's not evenly distributed, okay? So if you know there is a problem that is worth solving, somebody is already solving it somewhere. So somebody from the future is already here solving that problem, okay? What you want to see is who is living in the future today that has some ideas, and you want to go and look at them. This is very powerful because usually when you're brainstorming and the debaters want to tell you, oh, I don't believe it, look at solutions that are ready. By the way, always think of diffusion of innovation. Diffusion, there is a market, there is a new category, but probably not everybody has adopted the innovation. So that's why you want to, understand sensing at the beginning and try to see the solution. How are we up to here? We're 10 minutes of landing. Are we okay? Yeah? No? Am I losing you? Good. Thank you. Thank you for the support. Okay, we've done 3. We empathize, we define, we ideate. The next one, I'm going to go very fast because, Heathrow is waiting for us. So the next one is prototype. Of course, you looked at your landscape, you got, a good idea or inspirations on how others are solving. Let's prototype, okay? Here is a brief explanation what prototyping is. Get idea out of your head and into the world. So really start building something that you can use to test your idea in the market, to make sure the idea follows the user needs and can be said. So the next slide is about how to prototype very easily. Why you do it and how you do it is to get empathy gaining, to explore if that idea, maybe that idea is working well in Colombia, in Bogota, but maybe when I take it to London, you know, it's not there. So the prototype gives you how the user can play with it. I like to explain in the Stanford method, prototype and test at the same time. So there are some tools. The next slide, Mala. There are some tools that you know, usually you can do storyboarding, user prototype stage, or role playing. You know, this is of course one of the things that you want is you don't want to build the product. I am a product manager, particularly for digital products, and you know it costs a lot to build. But you like to play with mock-ups or ideas that you have that you saw somebody solving, but you create either a storyboard or a prototype test, or you role play it just to explore it. So these are prototype and test tools. Give me the next one. No? Again, build a representation of more than one idea. Make your idea come to life. What parts of your solution have shape? Make it tangible. So it's all about, again, think about getting out of it your head and put it into paper. The next one, Mala. Again, you've heard this. We do it a lot of the impact is fail early and fail often. So when you're doing prototype, it's because you want to make sure that you early play with the concept to see if your hypothesis and your, you know, are there. You want to get that out of the way at the beginning, not when you build the product. And as you all know, sometimes you get a lot of people build products and there was no need for them, you know, and that's one of the common things on startups. And we fall in love with the solution. That's why I say, make sure you understand there is a problem. That problem is there. Define it well, and make sure you do it, because even though you are sure that there is a solution for it, maybe the market, the category is too early to start into it. So fail early and fail often. The next one, please. Claudia always loved to say this. I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. You know? So this is Thomas Edison. So the reality, there is a great book that probably you heard from the first CEO of Netflix that said that won't work. You know, the reality is your original idea probably won't work, but the fact that you are there exploring and iterating, you end up pivoting the idea and it will work. So the reality is the first idea from Netflix was not going to work, but the fact that you were there playing with it got you to it. You know, got you to it. Give me the next one. And 6 minutes to landing. Testing is your chance to gather feedback. So also think about prototyping as you're going back to the prototyping and testing as you're going back to the empathy stage, okay? So it's not like you do this process first and then you move to the next one and then, oh, I'm not going to define it. So when you're prototyping, you are also refining your creative question. You're also rethinking if some of the insights you had were true inferences. You know, they were truly things that are. So prototype as if you know you are right, but test as if you know you are wrong. So I love to do this because the reality is you want to make sure there is a market that is everybody loves and everybody probably knows minimal viable product, but very few people talk about minimal viable market. Is it really relevant? Somebody will pay for it, you know, somebody will pay for it, for that solution after you pay, you know, I've just spent millions building it and then I don't want to find out. So this is how to test and then how to test it. Please, the next slide, very quickly. Learn more about your user, redefine your prototype and solution, test and redefine your point of view. So again, you know, you're testing to go back to your point of view and to redefine you, how might we question, and then do it again and do it as many times until you get it. A couple tips to close and to, you know, to land. Hope it hasn't been too turbulent. When you're evaluating, next one, Mala, please. When you're evaluating, again, don't tell it, show it. It's very powerful to show. Create experiences, ask users to compare. I love comparison, honestly. Every time that I'm creating a solution, I love to compare with other things. And remember, because I love stealing like an artist, I love to see if the L'Occitane solution, how does it compare to the other one? Because as many people say, if your idea is very good, somebody's already, or if the problem is big, somebody's already building for it. So rules for evaluating, here's another tip that I'm leaving you so you can have it. It's, getting feedback, what did not work or was not perfectly understood, opportunities for improvement. The question that arises, when people, it's beautiful when you give that product of yours and you don't explain anything. And you tell the person, well, test it, see how it is. The new idea, they also, there's a new idea. That's why, you are there iterating and what the most worked and was perfectly understood. When they thought, wow, I love it. I teach classes at a couple universities, and I bring all the time apps, innovation, and I love kids, my students playing with it and giving us feedback. Okay, 3 minutes to landing. This is the cheat sheet. Okay, this is the 5-stage Stanford process. And search for rich stories and find some love, So the reality is, and that's why we talk about passion when we talk about purpose, when you empathize, and if there is a problem you love and it's a problem you understand, then it's beautiful, because that's the problem you want everybody working on. Again, remember, user needs and insights. You're not looking for solution at the beginning. User needs an insight, and always look for a point of view. What's your point of view? Okay. So I said, then that creative question, use it to ideate a lot. And there is this exercise, you all know this. Yes, and because there is always in us. Oh no, that's not gonna work. Oh no, this is a good idea, but that's not gonna work. So put yourself in the yes and mode. Build to learn and show. Don't tell. It's not about talking. Show it. Give it to somebody to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are arriving in Heathrow. Thank you very much. I know I gave you a lot of subject. I told you there was going to be some turbulence. The presentation is there. I hope you like it. I really enjoyed it. I'm sorry if I didn't have time to ask many questions and things like that.
Juan Claudio, we have 1 minute. Can you answer the question in 30 seconds?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so it's about the example. Oh, there it is. It's up on the screen. So it says, it sparks a question. How do you know what you don't know? How do you ensure that you can cast your net wide enough to get to such a unique but powerful need?
Well, you don't know what you don't know. The reality is you don't know. There is a very powerful, when you go to empathize, you be prepared to find out what. Let me remember what it says. It's something like it's you don't know until you find it. You don't know what you're looking until you find it. You go there and you don't know it. You find it. That's the beauty of the empathize. You find it. Of course, if you knew it in the very beginning, oh man, everybody was seeing. That's why you probably seen that matrix. Customers are not articulate about their needs. You have to really, well, of course, they're articulate about their needs if they're already being, served, in a current business. But if they're not being served, you don't know. That's why you create a new category. What are categories? There is a big. I'm a category pilot too. There's a big thing about designing categories. And I'm. Thank you. But that's a whole class that I love to. Thank you very much. I was here for Claudia, and Claudia couldn't be, and well, very glad to have met you, and hope you keep enjoying your classes at the Maker Festival.
Thank you so much, Juan Claudio. I mean, we all missed Claudio as well, but I think you did her justice with the energy and enthusiasm that you came to this today. Thank you for giving us those clear but intense steps, also providing very practical tools with examples, and then also giving us the resources and ways to find other tools to support in this process. So I feel that we might be slightly overwhelmed at this moment, but with the tools in our hands and the way to gain new ones to continue on this journey. So thank you very much for sharing that. And I'm going to say, everyone, we should rush over immediately to the session that has probably just started for the Innovation Awards, and hopefully see many of you tomorrow. Thank you once again, Juan Claudio.
Ciao.
And thank you,
Adios.
because actually it was her who passed all of the slides, not me.